Welcome back to the deep dive. We grab the source material, we cut through the noise, and basically give you the insights you need, fast.
Uh-huh. Making sense of the complex stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And today we're digging into something that's, well, it's fundamental for any business handling sensitive info.
Yeah.
Managed file transfer. MFT, as you probably know it.
Right. It's often working away in the background, isn't it? The secure pipe for all that critical data.
Yeah.
Payroll, financial records, patient scans, even classified government stuff.
Spot on. And our source for this deep dive is a look ahead at this really crucial market. We're unpacking MFT Market Outlook 2025-2034, strategic guidance on vertical spending, cloud-native impacts, and service revenue trends. And this report, it's by David Heath, it gives a pretty compelling picture of where MFT is headed over the next 10 years or so.
Yeah, and that 10-year view is important. It lets you look past, the short-term noise and see the bigger forces at play. How organizations are tackling that basic but tricky job of moving data securely.
So our mission today, pretty simple. Pull out the key findings from David Heath's Outlook. What's the growth look like? Who's spending and why? And maybe the most interesting bit. How is MFT tech actually being delivered and used now? There are some big shifts mentioned.
Absolutely. It's definitely not a static tech. It's evolving fast, actually, to meet modern needs.
Okay, let's jump straight into the numbers then from this outlook. The report seems pretty bullish on growth for MFT, right?
Yeah.
2025 to 2034. What's the headline figure?
Well, the projection is for a compound annual growth rate, CGR, of roughly 10% over that period.
10%.
Yeah. And if that holds, you could see the market value hitting something like USD 5.3 billion by 2033, potentially.
10% CGR over a decade, that's pretty solid. Now, for listeners maybe not steeped in market reports daily, CGR is like the average yearly growth, kind of smoothed out, right?
Exactly. It gives you that sense of steady upward momentum, not just a one-year blip. So yeah, it suggests sustained, pretty significant expansion.
Okay, so what's actually pushing that? What are the drivers, according to the source?
The report really highlights three main engines here, and they're, fundamental to business today. First, maybe the most obvious one, is the constant increase in cybersecurity threats.
Seems relentless.
It is. Breaches get more sophisticated, more expensive, so moving data securely isn't just like good practice anymore, it's survival. MFT gives you that hardened channel.
So it's becoming more essential as the bad guys get smarter.
Precisely. Your data can be locked down tight when it's sitting still, but if it's vulnerable while moving, big problem. MFT tackles that head on.
Okay, what's number two?
The second big driver is regulatory compliance. We're just seeing more and more rules, stricter rules globally.
Right, like GDPR.
Yep, GDPR in Europe, HIPAA for healthcare data in the US, PCI DSS for payment cards. They all demand really tight controls on handling sensitive data, storing it, processing it, and crucially, transferring it.
Yeah.
So for companies in those sectors, MFT isn't really optional. It's often a legal must-have.
So it's not just fear of getting hacked, it's the regulators breathing down your neck saying secure it this way, with big fines if you don't.
Exactly right. Compliance is a very powerful motivator. And the third piece is digital transformation, an ongoing push.
Okay.
Businesses are automating workflows, connecting disparate systems, shuffling data between clouds, on-prem partners, faster than ever. And that demands MFT solutions that aren't just secure, but also automated, reliable, and, scalable enough for all that traffic and complexity.
So MFT is kind of the bedrock, enabling those slick, automated digital processes to happen securely. Security compliance, digital transformation. Makes sense. Does the report mention any potential drags on this growth?
It does note that, while the underlying demand is definitely strong, the actual growth rate could be swayed by things like the wider economy or maybe some tech disruption we haven't foreseen.
Sure, standard caveats.
But the core message is clear. The fundamental needs driving MFT aren't going anywhere.
Okay, so let's pause there. What does this growth forecast mean for you listening in?
Well, it shows where serious tech investment is going in the business world, and it really highlights how central and, frankly, how challenging just moving data securely has become.
Yeah, understanding those drivers helps you see why secure transfer is such a priority, and maybe where IT budgets are heading.
Right. Now, let's pivot a bit. Given those strong drivers, David Heath's Outlook gets specific about who is spending this money. Which industries are really leading the MFT investment, according to the report?
Yeah, it breaks down the vertical spending, and it quickly becomes clear which sectors feel the heat the most from data sensitivity and regulations.
And top of that list is?
Banking, financial services, and insurance. BFSI. They are consistently the biggest spenders.
No surprise there, I guess.
Not really. Their core use case. Secure financial transactions, customer data transfers. Think banks moving wire transfers, wealth managers sharing portfolios, insurers processing claims with all that personal info.
The driver is intense regulation. PCI DSS for cards, loads of financial rules, plus data privacy like GDPR. The sheer volume and value of their data makes robust MFT just essential.
Yeah, financial firms basically run on moving sensitive data, and they're prime targets. MFT has to be rock solid for them.
Absolutely. The next major spender identified is healthcare.
Okay. Patient data.
Exactly. Transferring patient records, massive medical images, MRIs, X-rays, lab results, billing info, all highly personal confidential stuff. The main driver, especially in the US, is IPAY compliance. Very strict rules on protecting health information.
Right.
And their spending is significant. It's growing, too, boosted by the shift to electronic health records, telemedicine, all that.
And transferring, say, a huge MRI file securely between a hospital and a specialist. It's a different beast than just a text file, but incredibly critical.
Totally. The integrity, the confidentiality, it can literally be life or death, or at least crucial for care.
Yeah.
And the third leading sector is government.
Okay. What are their main uses?
Secure data exchange. Internally, between agencies, externally with citizens or other governments, could be tax data, could be classified intel, could be citizen applications, the drivers, often national security, data protection laws, just needing secure comms infrastructure.
Makes sense.
Spending is substantial, especially in places with big public sectors.
Yeah, ensuring secure communication between, the tax office and Social Security, or just handling online citizen services securely, that demands high assurance.
It really does. Now, the report does mention other sectors like retail things, supply chain data, customer info and manufacturing, sharing design specs, logistics. They use MFT, and that use is growing.
But they lag behind the big three.
Generally, yes. Primarily because while their data is important, it might not have the same combination of extreme sensitivity, volume, and direct regulatory pressure as you see in finance, healthcare, or government.
Got it. So this breakdown really shows who needs MFT the most, and the core reasons largely regulations and the nature of the data itself. It helps you see the market through the customer's biggest pain points.
Yeah, understanding those vertical needs really explains where MFT solutions have to shine.
Okay, moving on. David Heath's outlook points to another pretty big shift. This one's about technology and the business model. The rise of cloud-native MFT and how that changes licensing. This feels like a really fundamental change.
Oh, it is. Big time. Traditionally, MFT was often software you installed on your own servers, right? In your data center, on premises.
Right.
And the licensing was mostly perpetual.
Remind us what perpetual meant there.
Yeah.
Big upfront cost.
Exactly. You paid a large one-time fee, a capital expense to buy the license. You own the right to use that software version forever, basically. But then you had separate ongoing costs for maintenance, support, upgrades maybe.
So buy the software, then pay yearly to keep it running and updated.
That's the gist. Now, the big shift, really pushed by cloud-native MFT, is towards recurring subscription fees.
Ah, the SaaS model.
Pretty much. Instead of that big CapEx hit, companies pay a regular fee, maybe monthly, maybe annually, to use the software. And it's usually hosted and managed in the cloud by the vendor, so it flips the cost from capital expenditure to operational expenditure, OpEx.
Okay, CapEx versus OpEx. That definitely gets the attention of finance departments. And the report highlights some clear benefits driving this switch, doesn't it?
It does. The obvious one is lower upfront cost. Makes it easier to get started.
Right. Lowers the barrier.
But there are operational wins, too, like automatic updates and security patches handled by the provider. So you're always on the latest, most secure version without your team having to do it manually.
Less hassle.
Plus, cloud solutions are usually built to scale easily. Need more capacity, need less, it adjusts. And they integrate better with other cloud services, multi-cloud setups, which is where more and more businesses operate.
And that lower initial cost, making it OpEx.
Yeah.
That must open up MFT to companies that maybe couldn't justify the big perpetual license before. Smaller organizations, perhaps?
Absolutely. It sort of democratizes access. And look, this lines up perfectly with the massive shift across all software towards software as a service.
Sure.
The report specifically calls out cloud adoption, saying it's especially fast in places like Asia-Pacific as a major force, pushing MFT towards being dominated by subscriptions in the future.
So it's more than just new features. It's a strategic shift. Financial, operational, changes the whole MFT landscape, makes it more agile, more accessible.
Yeah, it reflects that broader trend.
Yeah.
Businesses preferring flexible managed services over buying and running their own infrastructure for everything.
Okay, last key area from the report.
Yeah.
The service side of MFT. It indicates this is another growth zone. It's not just about selling the software license anymore.
Not at all. As MFT gets more sophisticated, and especially with the cloud move, the services around it, implementing it, managing it, getting the most out of it, become really valuable. The report points to a few distinct areas driving this service revenue.
Okay, like what kind of services?
Well, there's strong demand for professional services. This is all the help needed to get a modern MFT solution working properly.
Implementation, setup.
Yeah, implementation, tricky integrations with existing systems, internal, external partners, and expert consulting. Advice on best practices for security, for workflow design. Setting up a really robust MFT environment isn't just plug and play.
Right. Companies need help navigating the complexity, making sure everything connects securely.
Exactly. Then you've got managed services. This ties into the cloud shift. Many companies are choosing to just offload the day-to-day running of the MFT platform.
Like monitoring, patching.
Monitoring, maintenance, patching, managing the underlying infrastructure. They pay the MFT provider or maybe a third party to handle it all, frees up their internal IT folks for other things.
Seems like a natural fit for cloud. Let the specialists manage the platform.
It is. And finally, the report mentions growth in value-added services. This is interesting. Things like training, yes, but also optimization services. Yeah, helping companies really leverage the more advanced features. And the source specifically mentions things like automation and even AI starting to play a role here.
AI and file transfer. How would that work?
Well, the report touches on it in the services section. You could imagine AI maybe spotting unusual transfer patterns that might signal a threat, or perhaps optimizing how data gets routed for efficiency. It shows these aren't just simple transfer tools anymore.
Wow. Okay, so MFT is becoming part of a company's broader intelligence and security setup.
It suggests the market's maturing, integrating with wider tech trends. And the report notes North America seems to be leading in this service revenue growth currently. Probably because of earlier cloud adoption and those complex compliance needs, often driving more custom service work.
So, okay, maybe demand for some old school services tied to legacy on-prem systems fades a bit.
Right.
But the growth in services around cloud migration, ongoing management, advanced feature optimization, that more than makes up for it. It's a transformation of the service landscape itself.
Definitely. It really underlines that the tech is only one piece. The expertise, the support needed to use it effectively in today's complex, regulated world, that's a critical, growing part of the MFT market value.
Okay, this deep dive into David Heath's MFT Market Outlook for 2025-2034, it's really peeled back the layers on a vital bit of digital plumbing, hasn't it? You've seen a market pegged for strong, like 10% growth.
Driven by those core needs, security, compliance, enabling digital transformation.
Yeah, non-negotiable stuff. And the spending heavily focused in BFSI, healthcare, government, where the data sensitivity and rules are toughest. And crucially, that big shift happening towards cloud-native subscription models, lowering barriers, fitting modern IT strategy.
Keeps it more accessible, more OpEx-friendly.
Right. And finally, that whole ecosystem of services around MFT is growing, evolving too, needing expertise for implementation, management, optimization.
It really paints a picture of a market that's not just getting bigger, but fundamentally changing how it delivers value, adapting to this cloud-first, hyper-regulated, increasingly automated world we're in.
It underscores just how vital secure data movement is. Okay, so thinking about that big shift, cloud native, subscriptions, more reliance on managed services, handing over operational control. Here's a final thought for you to chew on, building on the source material.
Okay.
When organizations lean more heavily on external providers and cloud infrastructure for their most critical file transfers, what new kinds of trust, what new layers of security vetting become absolutely essential?
That's a really good question, because your security perimeter, your responsibility, it definitely shifts, doesn't it? It extends beyond your own four wall.
It really does. Changes the game. Okay, thank you for joining us for this deep dive.